Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. Man, my first deck profile with IRL cards in quite some time, so pretty excited to do that for you guys. I showed you guys last week that I got my set 10 stuff finally. So today we're going over my mono green Ginyu list. I played this deck a lot, played it green yellow, mono green, several different variations. This is the list I like the most right now. I think there's a lot of different ways to play the deck, but I'm going to go over why I have the choices that I have. Guys, if you are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. If you guys want to help the channel out, there are many links in the description down below. Check out the Patreon, check out the Gemmy app for your one-on-one coaching as well as your cross-world competitive articles. If you guys need any sleeves, deck boxes, binders, make sure to go to deck protection down in the description. These very nice red sleeves were provided by Dex. Thank you once again. And finally, guys, I want to give this playmat away. This is the Dragon Ball Super Ultra Pro playmat with the back of the cards basically printed on the playmat. And I want to give this away. So go to the channel homepage, watch the road to 10,000 subscriber video. Make sure you get yourself aware of the 10,000 subscriber giveaway I want to do for the channel here. And that being said, we'll get into the deck profile. So Ginyu, pretty similar on both sides. He has an auto on both sides that says when he attacks, you look at the top card of the deck. If it's a Ginyu, you play it, and then you draw a card. If the card is not a Ginyu, there's a pretty weird ruling surrounding it, but basically what you do is you reveal the top card, it's not a Ginyu Force, you shuffle the deck, and then you draw a random card after shuffling. So that's how that kind of works. You awaken at 4 or less life, you draw 2 cards, but you can also awaken if you have 4 Ginyu Force battle cards in play. The one neat thing on the awaken side is activate battle once per turn, pay a green, you can boost a Ginyu Force by 10k. So out of all the Ginyu Force leaders that actually want to work with the Ginyu cards themselves, this is easily the best one. I mean, obviously we have yellow Ginyu, we have some of the red Ginyu stuff, but this is definitely the best pure Ginyu deck we've seen in a long time. And I think it's really good. I think this deck is actually high rogue tier slash, meta playable. I like it a lot. So starting off, we have 2 Raccoon, the Musclehead. This guy plays other Ginyu Forces when you play him. Now keep in mind, all the green Ginyu Forces in this deck have unique, and that is pretty important because it means you can't like spam 4 Raccoons and play 4 Jaces. But the thing is here, the leader plays your guys for free and still draws cards. So every time your leader does that, you're essentially plussing 2, which is honestly pretty insane. Like, you're plussing in board presence and you're also drawing a card. But both those cards came from the deck, so that's straight up a +2, and there's ways you can manipulate your deck to make that happen that way. Next up, we have 4 Birder. He is your blocker. He's also unique. At the end of the turn, he restands. Let's look at the top 3 cards of your deck and rearrange them. You can put to the top or bottom in any order. Now, this is a different thing between this and a card like Tournament Power Arena. This allows you to mix and match what you put to the top of the deck or the bottom of the deck, where TOP Arena doesn't let you do that because they're worded very differently. I believe on these cards it says and or, so that, kind of distincts the fact you can do both things. Next up, we're playing 4 Guldo. Guldo is kind of like a MVP playmaker in a sense. He has one effect where you can discard him, and if you do that, if your leader's a Ginyu, you can rearrange top 3 cards of your deck. You don't always want to go for that, but you can if you really need the setup. The much better effect though is actually having him on the field and then looking at top 5 to rearrange, and that works out so well. So a lot of times you'll stack a Ginyu Force and then you'll stack the next card you want to draw, like a super combo or a unison, whatever it is, and it works out really, really well. Like playing him with a Raccoon, or just even playing him for 2 before you've attacked with your leader, just to make sure you get another Ginyu Force in play, is absolutely incredible. And then finally, guys, for the Ginyu Force lineup, I know it's not too spicy. We're playing 4 of every Ginyu Force. We're playing 4 Jace, but the rest of the deck's really interesting. So Jace, when he attacks, look at the top 3, you get to add a Ginyu Force, and then you get to rearrange them however you like on the top or bottom of your deck. So that works out quite well. And this is actually the different part. I think you'll see that in a lot of lists. I'm only playing 2 Ginyu Backbone of the Force. The thing is, like, most of my testing is against my teammates and some friends, and honestly, at higher levels of play, they're not going to let you stick all 4 Ginyus on the field most of the time. They're going to either remove them or attack into them, and you're not going to be able to stick those to the field. So I only play 2 of this because it is relatively rare that you actually get to play it. I mean, some cases, to be honest, casting it for 4 and stealing your opponent's best battle card, that is game winning. So it does work out in a lot of scenarios, but I only play 2 because I don't want the build to be overly reliant. This is definitely more of a rush aggro strategy, so I'm not really looking for this card in terms of combo. And I want to mention, I'm not playing Ginyu the Body Snatcher. Ginyu the Body Snatcher is not in my main deck. I would consider siding it for decks that are a little weaker on removal, but I'm not playing in the main deck because, once again, I can't rely on that combo of having all the Ginyu Forces in play, because sometimes you won't see all the Ginyu Forces, but a lot of the times the higher level players, they're going to be removing your Ginyu Forces, so it just doesn't work out all the time. Next up, we're playing for Chilai the Beautiful. This is really the best turn 1 play in the deck, in my opinion. Now, you could play this card, or you could play Ginyu Helix Strike. I'm not playing this card in the main deck at this moment. I'm going to explain why. So, Chilai on play, she draws 1, and then you can pay 2 to play any Frieza army card from your deck, 2 or less, and that plays all your Ginyu forces. So a lot of times you go into her, you'll play Raccoon from her effect, and then you'll play another Ginyu force with that ability, which is really good. You could play Ginyu Helix Strike. You can't really like play him out in the deck, but he has a activate main for 1 that says place a card in the drop area from your hand. If your leader is a Ginyu card, look at the top 3 of your deck, choose up to 1 Ginyu force among them, add it to your hand, then place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. If you added a card to your hand, choose 1 Ginyu force from your hand with energy cost of 2 or less and play it. So not a bad turn 1 play by any means. I just don't like the fact that it seems less consistent than Chilai. Like, you can potentially miss off of this Ginyu. Like, you're playing X amount of Ginyu forces and you could potentially miss. Chilai will always have a target in the deck because it's an entire deck search. And what I actually notice is when you're getting into like turns 3, 4, and 5, you're not actually spending a ton of energy because you're playing a lot of your Ginyu forces for free. So the extra energy paid for Chilai for the consistency that you get out of it, I think is really worth it. That's my opinion, though. You could definitely play Helix Strike if you want to try it out or if you think it's better. So next up, we have the Unisons. We're playing 3 Golden Frieza Unison of Malice. He really helps just set up the deck. I mean, you want to play him on a lot of your turn 2s. You basically take a Ginyu Force from your hand, put it on top of your deck, and then he gains crit, which is nice for pressure, and then your leader plays a Ginyu Force from the top. But I do want to play one of the best Unisons in the game that's very, very cheap, actually, and that's Demigra, Unison of Sorcery. Again, this is a pretty quick rush deck, so having this on 1, if you have, you know, a Guldo to set up or a Chilai to set up, if you have that stuff, playing this guy on 1 for the 15k aggression is definitely very, very good. And plus the fact that he can't be removed basically allows you to guarantee that your Frieza charismatic villains are always going to be live. That ends up working out more often than not. So I do like that Unison split right now. I know some Ginyu builds don't even play the Golden Frieza Unison of Malice. I like it. I like crit. I like the pressure. I like the draw power. And I like the stacking of the deck to get your leader set up, essentially. But I think both Unisons are very, very good and usable in different scenarios. So I wanted to include both in the deck. Next up, so firstly, before I talk about this next card, I want to mention this is a 52 card list. And that kind of brings me right into this, the Fuse Zamasu Deity's Wrath. I think this card pairs incredibly well with Frieza Charismatic Villain. I mean, you know, a lot of times that Frieza will just sit on the board and pretty much do nothing after you counterplay with it because it's not a relevant body to threaten your opponent. It's kind of just like a 5k combo that's kind of sitting there. But if you can turn it into a Fuse Zamasu Deity's Wrath, I think that's very, very good. Now, here's what I'll say. This deck does not need this card to win games, to apply pressure. This deck doesn't need this card. It's a 52 card list. Honestly, if I had a third copy of this card, I would play a third copy, but it's a little bit too outrageous in price for me to go pick it up right now. So I will say you don't even need this card. You definitely don't need this card to win. I'm just playing it because I own it, and I think that's a pretty fair way to surmise this card. You don't need it, but it is good if you have it to make use of the Frieza Charismatic Villain. Next up, we are playing 3 copies of Dodoria, the Cold-Blooded. This is how we're dealing with Unisons. I mean, it's actually really, really nice that our leader plays free 15k bodies because let's say our opponent on turn 2 plays a Unison. That thing will typically have 3 markers on it. It could be a Bardock or any other Unison that's not like Zeno or Sin Shenron, for example. They play that Unison, they +1 marker, that's 3 markers. Your leader plays a 15k for free, and then you play Dodoria. You basically have dealt with 3 markers right then and there, so that actually ends up working out very well. And sometimes you can get stalled on your leader. Again, if your opponent's clearing your Ginyu forces or they're not attacking you, having a little bit of self-awaken is quite nice. Next up, we are playing the one lonely Piccolo assimilated ability. So I'm including one in the deck, and I think it's more of a playstyle thing because personally I do like playing aggro rush strategies, but I always like having some way to, you know, counteract certain things in the format. So having Piccolo in the main deck feels pretty good to me. I do very much like the fact this card has gone down in price. I think at the time of recording it's about $20-$30 a copy, so I'd recommend picking it up if you want to play it. But again, it's a 52 card list. This is another card that you don't really have to play by any means. It is a rush strategy. I play it because of player preference. I don't think you need to play this card whatsoever, so I'll just leave that there, kind of like a tidbit of information for you guys. Next up for super combos, we're playing 4 Vegeta the Lone Prince. I think this card is great. I think Paragus is great. I think it is, once again, player preference. That's the cool thing about this deck. It is very customizable, like the Chilais, like the super combos, like the Zamasus. there's a lot of different ways you can gear the deck to do some different things. I like this card a lot though, because one, it is another turn 1 play. Now that we're not playing multicolors anymore, we have turn 1 plays at our disposal. Yeah, sometimes playing your super combo out there can be a little bit risky, but you have to just kind of feel out the matchup and know how the matchup's going to progress, and then know if it's the appropriate play to, you know, play out your super combo or not. Some matchups it's definitely more advisable than others, but the reason I really like this card is because it pairs well with the next 2 cards I'm playing, which is 2 Dark Temptation Toa and 3 copies of Son Goku Power of Legend. So Toa, real quickly, what she does is, you guys may not have seen her for a while, if your leader is green or yellow, when you overwhelm her out for 3, your leader gains a 5k boost and your opponent discards a card. So in this deck, we don't really care about our drop area per se. It doesn't really matter. We don't really care too much for sparking, and none of our card effects really have sparking. So playing her, make our opponent discard a card. Our leader becomes either 15 on the unawakened side, 20 on the awakened side. So if you're being stalled out and you're awakened, your unawakened leader can still threaten. And the super combo in pair with the Dark Temptation Toa lets us drop the Son Goku Power of Legend. If I am going second and I want to be very, very aggressive in a matchup, if I open the super combo and if I open the Son Goku Power of Legend, I will always play super combo on turn 1, make them pitch a card, play Power of Legend, and then attack them with it. Even going first, to be honest, that's a good setup play, because most decks on their very own turn 1, they can't answer a super combo plus a 15k crit. So either way, if you have the combo on turn 1, it is very, very good. Sometimes it hurts. This card has 0 combo power, but realistically, you're just playing it down to the field for more aggression, so it ends up working out more often than not. Next up, we're playing 2 copies of Dormant Potential Unleashed. I know this card has a pretty high price tag. I honestly wouldn't say you need it. That's why I'm only playing 2 copies. A lot of lists, a lot of green decks in general, you're probably seeing play this card like 3 or 4 copies. I don't think Nimbus-like effects are super needed in the meta right now. The meta seems to be a little bit slower, but I do think it's very, very good in the later parts of the game where you just need one more turn to put pressure on your opponent. This card essentially buys you that turn, which is very good. Now for the last 2 negates, we're playing 1 copy of For the Greater Good. This is our drop area negate. We don't have the best answers to Victory Strike in this deck. We basically want to kill them before it even gets to that point. But with For the Greater Good, if they look at our hand and discard it, it's still a live negate for the Apex Victory Strike. That's going to buy you a turn, and then you can basically use all your pressure to just kill them on the following turn. So that's how you kind of want to play out that scenario. Next up, we have 1 Wrathful Charge. This is a card I'm still testing out. It could very easily be Shocking Deathball, but this card's nice because when you negate with it, you sacrifice one of your battle cards, you make your opponent discard a card, so that can play your Power of Legend, but also it frees up your board if you want to play like another Raccoon and play another Ginyu, or if you want to play another Guldo, for example. Like if you just need to somehow replay a Ginyu, this basically frees up your board for that. I was messing around with the green-yellow build that played Successor, but honestly, the Successor builds just were very, very lackluster. I didn't like them. I thought mono green just felt a lot more smooth in that sense. And then the final card in the deck, guys, we are playing the Grade A Bardock Mass Saiyan Primal Carnage. Again, 52 card list. You don't need this card. I do like the flexibility though of having basically the 1 energy kill absolutely anything in the game. That feels very, very good. And then the tap 5 win condition, it feels good as well. You know, sometimes your opponent's playing a defensive deck and the game will go longer. So I do think it's a good card to have for that situation. Again, not needed. 52 cards in this deck. You can definitely customize, cut some things, change some things with some of the other suggestions that I talked about, you know, with the Ginyu and with the Body Snatcher. You could definitely play those cards. This is how I'm opting to run the deck, guys. So run it how you will. Take some advice from this if you want. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time.